Hello and welcome to all. This is Hemlata from CSMB. Welcome to Darshan sir and all participants. Now we will start the session with the chamber introduction. We chamber for advancement of small and medium businesses. Our corporate office at Bandra Kurla Complex, Mumbai. This is a MSME's number for registered micro enterprises 9.15 millions, registered small enterprises 391,000, registered mid-size enterprises 38,077. Hello. Our mission is to work closely with all stakeholders for advancement of micro, small, and medium businesses. And our vision is make MSMEs more resilient and make them stronger backbone of Indian economy. This is our core leadership team. Chairman Dr. Prabodh Halde sir, Secretary General Mr. Umesh Kamble sir, and our President Mr. Nilesh Lele sir, and our Director is Amod Ashok Sargaonkar sir. This is our social media handle: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. This is our some activities. Last year, we participate in Anufood exhibition with CSMB in collaboration with QCI, jointly arranged conference on food safety aspects. This is one more conference at Anutech International Food Tech India 2022. And CSMB and USEC one-day seminar on soy food uses and businesses opportunity conducted last year. This is a food startups event at Bangalore, FIHI India 2022, conducted by CSMB. This is a Pitch to Fork event conducted at Dubai for startups. And this is seminar on California ingredients for food processing and packaging. This is our last events conducted by CSMB. This is entrepreneurship awareness program organized by CSMB and MSME at MET Bandra. This is the contact number of our president, Mr. Nilesh Lele sir, and our director, Amod Sargaonkar sir. Now I request to Ms. Anjali to give speaker introduction, Mr. Darshan Sancheti sirs. Anjali, over to you.
Thank you, Hema. First of all, welcome everybody in today's session. We have our speaker, Sir Darshan Sancheti sir, with us. He is the Senior Manager in Taxation at ESME. His company offers a one-stop solution to aid financial, taxation, and compliance requirements. At one of the prominent positions of the company, Darshan sir is responsible for overseeing not only the execution of taxation compliances, but he is also heading the development of the ITR self-filing portal. With over 5 years of work experience, Darshan sir expertise include managing overall compliances and accounting of MSMEs and large entities. Sir is well versed with conducting audit for different types of MSME and large entities. Sir, welcome in today's session. Darshan sir, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone who is present here. I'll share my screen and start. Can you all confirm if you can see the screen?
Yes, sir. It is visible. Perfect.
Okay. So first, I'll just brief you as to what are the topics that I'm going to talk on. So I'll be speaking on who is required to file income tax return, what are the consequences of filing, and what are the benefits of filing. After that, I'll be talking about benefits available under the Income Tax Act for MSMEs. And lastly, I'll be speaking on the new changes that have been brought by Budget 2023, which will be applicable from 1st April 2023. So the first topic as to who is required to file ITR. So ITR filing is mandatory if you are a company, a partnership firm, an LLP, or a cooperative society. For individuals, ITR filing is mandatory if your income is more than the basic exemption limit. Basic exemption limit for citizens up to the age of 60 is rupees 2.5 lakhs and in old regime, and in new regime this basic exemption limit is 3 lakhs. This 3 lakh limit will be applicable from 1st April 2023. Prior to that the limit was 2 lakh 50,000. Apart from that, an individual is also required to file income tax return even if the income is below the basic exemption limit if any of the conditions is satisfied. These conditions are as follows. If you go on a foreign trip and if you spend rupees 2 lakhs or more, then in that case you have to compulsorily file your ITR even if your income is below the basic exemption limit. Similarly, if your electricity expenses during the year is greater than 1 lakh, or the total sales or gross receipts from your business is greater than 60 lakhs, rupees 10 lakhs in case of profession, or if during the year you have deposited 1 crore or more in current account, then you guys have to compulsorily file income tax return even if your income is below the basic exemption limit. Now, what are the consequences of not filing when you are mandatorily required to file? Before giving out the consequences, I'll just update as to the income tax department now is aware about all your important transaction, be it all your incomes, receipts, or be it all your expenses that you are incurring through UPI or through credit card, through debit cards, or even if you are making any investment in shares, mutual funds, property, the income tax department is aware about all your significant transactions, and it is very difficult to escape the net of the income tax department. And so if you are satisfying any of the conditions of mandatory filing, then you should file income tax return, otherwise you will face the following consequences. These consequences are as follows. Like you'll have to pay interest, penalty. Then if there has been tax deposited in your name, you will not be able to claim refund of it. If you have incurred any loss during the year, then you will not be able to carry forward that loss if you don't file the return. Apart from that, the income tax officer will determine your income based on whatever information he has, and accordingly you will have to pay tax on it, including the interest as well as penalty. Also, if you don't file your income tax return, prosecution can be initiated by the department, which can also lead to your imprisonment. Apart from that, if you don't file your income tax return, and your tax deducted or collected during the year is more than 50,000, then TDS would also be deducted at a higher rate for you. Now, apart from the compulsions that the government has brought in to make people file return, there are various benefits as well associated with filing of income tax return. These benefits should promote you, should help you and to file income tax returns. So these benefits are as if you file your income tax return, you can claim the excess tax that has been paid by you during the year. You can carry forward the losses if you have incurred and set it in the future when you have possible income. This will help you to avoid tax in the future. If you are filing return, you are contributing to nation building. Even if you are not liable to pay tax, you should file the return. This filing data helps the government to come and draft various beneficial policies for us. Apart from that, two major areas where income tax returns are required is when you go for any home loan, any personal loan, or any type of loan, or when you go for applying for a visa for some countries such as United States, United Kingdom. Over there, they ask you for your past 3 years returns, and based on that, they decide whether you get the home loan or whether your visa is processed or not. Apart from that, your income tax return is also a proof of income. Like nowadays, when you want your child to be admitted in a school, at that time to know whether you are credible to repay the fees, the school asks for your income tax return copy. So these are the benefits which makes income tax filing necessary. Any questions you guys have till now?
Any question?
Nothing as of now.
Okay, I'll move to the next slide. Like, what are the
I guess I will
benefits?
take the.
Okay, the next topic that I'll be talking about is like what are the benefits available for MSMEs under income tax. So the government, in trying to ease the burden of MSMEs, has brought in certain sections which are beneficial for them. Some of them I'll be talking about. So one of those important provisions that the government has brought in is presumptive scheme of taxation. Before explaining what presumptive scheme is, who is eligible, I'll just go through the benefits that are there of presumptive scheme. These benefits are as follows. Like if you opt for presumptive scheme, you don't have to maintain any books of accounts. You don't have to get your accounts audited. Apart from that, you don't need to pay advance tax in all 4 installments. So there is a relaxation given by the government where you only have to pay the last installment of advance tax. Apart from that, if you are opting for presumptive scheme, there are high chances that there will not be any scrutiny initiated against you. Now, the government has brought in presumptive schemes for businesses as well as professionals. So who can opt for presumptive schemes of businesses? Individual HUF partnership firms who are resident can opt for presumptive scheme provided their turnover during the year does not exceed 2 crores. During this budget, the government has enhanced this limit of 2 crore to 3 crore if the total receipts that you receive during the year, if the cash receipts are less than 5% of total receipt that you receive during the year. Now, what are the consequences? Once you opt in the presumptive scheme, whenever you opt out of it, that is, whenever you say you don't want to opt for the presumptive scheme, there are certain consequences. These are in the year in which you are opting out of presumptive scheme, tax audit will be applicable for you. You will have to get your accounts audited. Apart from that, you will not be able to opt in the presumptive scheme for the next 5 years again. In presumptive scheme, since you are not required to maintain any books of accounts or records. The government has made it very simple for small businesses, whereby they can declare minimum 8% of the total turnover as profits and pay tax on it. In order to promote transactions happening through banking channels, the government has also given an added advantage to people who receive funds through bank accounts, whereby you, for these funds which you receive through banking channels, you can declare 6% as profits on the total amount received. If you are opting for presumptive scheme, you cannot claim any other business expenditure apart from the profit percentage that is there. There is a presumptive scheme for professionals as well. Professional would include your legal professionals, your doctors, your engineers, your accountants. These people can opt for presumptive scheme for professionals. Individuals as well as partnerships can opt in it. Here, the limit or the eligibility criteria is that your turnover should not be more than 50 lakhs. If your turnover is up to 50 lakhs, you can opt for the presumptive scheme. Similar to the presumptive scheme of businesses, here also during the current year's budget, the government has enhanced the limit of the gross receipts to 75 lakh if the cash receipts are less than 5% of the total receipts. In case of professionals, the profit, minimum profit that a person has to show is 50%. If you show less than 50%, then you cannot opt for presumptive scheme. Now, coming to the next benefit that is available to MSMEs is an deduction that is given to them. This section is section 80JJAA, where you can claim deduction when you hire new employees. So you can claim 30% extra deduction for salary that you pay to additional employees. What does additional employee mean? Additional employee would mean the total number of employees as on the last date of previous year have increased in comparison to total number of employees as on last day of the current year. If this is the scenario, then in respect of those additional number of employees, you can claim 30% extra deduction. So what are the conditions? Like every entity would think, we are eligible for this. Our number of employees is increasing year on year. So we should be taking the benefit of this. But there are certain conditions attached to this. These are as follows. You can claim deduction under this section only if tax audit is applicable to you. Also, the total number of employees, that is the employee strength, should increase in comparison to last year. This deduction is available only in respect of employees whose salary is up to 25,000 and to whom you are making payment through banking channels. Apart from that, these employees should also participate in the recognized provident fund and should be employed for minimum 240 days during the year. Apart from this, since this benefit can be claimed for 3 years, so I'll just give you an example. For example, one entity had 10 employees in the previous year, and in this year they have 12 employees. So for the additional 2 employees, subject to they satisfying all the other conditions, they can claim additional 30% benefit. So this is a section which not many people are aware, but can be claimed only if tax audit is applicable for you. Now I have also added one small 2-3 slides with regards to certain provisions that if you as a businessman should keep in mind, as if you are not aware of this provision, it may lead to disallowance of expenses or it may lead to some penalty being levied on you. These provisions are as follows. So when you are running a business, so income tax doesn't want you to do transaction in cash. So in order to avoid transaction in cash, there are certain provisions that have been brought. These are as follows. One of them is that you as a person cannot accept or repay loans exceeding rupees 20,000 in cash. If you do that, you will be liable to 100% penalty. So for example, if you take 1 lakh rupees in cash as loan, then you will have to pay a penalty of 1 lakh. Apart from that, if you are running a business and if you make a payment in cash of rupees 10,000 or more in a single day to a single person, then also that expense gets disallowed. For example, you have gone with your employees to an hotel and you have incurred an expense of 15,000. If you pay that 15,000 in cash to the hotel, you will not be able to claim that as a business expense while filing your income tax return. This expense will be disallowed. Also, when you are running a business and you are about to receive rupees 2 lakh or more in cash from a person, then you should not accept that cash, as if you accept the cash of rupees 2 lakh or more, it will lead to a penalty of 100%. Also, the government has introduced a section wherein if you are withdrawing cash from your current account and the amount of withdrawal is greater than 1 crore, in that case, the bank will deduct TDS and give you the amount. The rate of TDS here is 2%. Many businesses are also not aware about various TDS and TDS compliances that they have to do. If you are not doing your TDS and TCS compliances properly, it can lead to interest payment penalty. Also, the expense on which you had to deduct TDS or you had to collect will be disallowed under income tax. So who is required to deduct TDS? So partnership firms, LLPs, companies, trusts, all are required to mandatorily deduct or collect tax if the section is applicable. For individuals and HUF, the government has given some leg room whereby TDS, TCS provisions are applicable only if turnover or gross receipts is greater than 1 crore in case of businesses and more than 50 lakhs in case of professionals. Non-deduction of TDS, TCS will lead to disallowances of expenses. So the next question that would come up is which transactions are there on which TDS or TCS is applicable? Some basic or general common transactions which happen for which we have to check whether TDS is applicable or TCS is applicable or not is like when you are making payment of any professional fees, or you are making payment to contractor, or you are making salary payment to your employees. Then based on the threshold limit mentioned in this section, TDS applicability will come in. Now I will come on to the next part, which is what are the changes that will be applicable from 1st April 2023. So this year, as you guys would be aware, that there are two regimes now under income tax for individual. One is the old regime and the new regime. The old regime is one where an individual can claim deductions under various sections, whereas the new regime doesn't give benefit of deductions under various sections. So the government wants to reduce this deduction culture and hence is promoting the new tax regime. Accordingly, the government has brought changes in new tax regime from 1st April 2023. These changes are as follows. Under new regime, the basic exemption limit will be 3 lakhs. So if you are opting for new regime and your income is up to 3 lakhs, then you will not be liable to pay any tax, nor there is any compulsion for you to file income tax return. Apart from that, the government has also increased the rebate amount, whereby if you are opting for new regime and you have income of up to 7 lakhs, then no tax will be payable. That is, if you are earning 7 lakhs during the year, you don't have to pay any tax. You will get a rebate of rupees 25,000, whereby your tax liability will become zero. Apart from that, to promote manufacturing in the country, which will help in generation of employment, the government is giving special tax rate for new manufacturing company. That is 17.16% of tax rate, including surcharge and cess. So if you are starting a new manufacturing company in the sense a private limited or a public limited, you will be allowed you will be allowed to pay tax at the rate of 17.16%, which is lower than tax rate applicable to other companies. So this is a very good benefit introduced by the government. Apart from that, as discussed, I have already discussed this part earlier with regards to increase in limit of presumptive taxation scheme, whereby if you are not receiving all the funds in cash, then you are eligible for higher threshold limit. A new section or a new provision introduced in this budget, which is going to be very helpful for MSMEs, is like if payments to MSMEs is not made on time as defined under the MSME Act, then the person who is liable to make the payment will not be able to claim the deduction of that expense. Just giving an example, in this, firstly, who will be called as micro and small businesses? You will be called as micro and small only if you have Udyam registration and your turnover limits are as and investment and turnover limits are as mentioned in the Act. Now, just coming to an example, for instance, there is a company which has to make payment to a small vendor, and the company doesn't make the payment in 45 days up to the end of that year. In that case, the company will not be able to claim the expense since it has not made the payment. The company can claim this expense only when the company subsequently makes the payment to the vendor. By introducing this provision, the companies will now have to mandatorily make payment to small vendors before the year end. In that case, only the company can claim the expense. Apart from that, there are tax exemptions issued for startups. Like if you are a registered startup, you don't have to pay tax on your profits for a period of 3 consecutive years out of the initial first 10 years of the entity. So if you are a registered startup, you don't have to pay tax on the profits for 3 years, which is a very good relief given to new businesses which are starting off. Apart from that, this is not the last point that I'll be talking about is not budget related update, but it is one of the deadline which is very crucial for us. Like every person who is having a PAN has to link it with Aadhaar before 31st March 2023. If that linking has not been done, then the PAN will become inoperative. Now, you would say, what happens if the PAN is inoperative? If the PAN is inoperative, then you will not be able to file your income tax return any longer. If any tax is deducted under your PAN, you will not be able to claim refund of that. Also, if your PAN is not valid, tax will be deducted at a higher rate. Apart from that, there are various transactions where you require your PAN, such as when you open a bank account or you invest in some mutual fund. For KYC purpose, you are required to submit your PAN. But if you don't link your Aadhaar and PAN by 31st March 2023, your PAN will become inoperative. So that's it. Thank you everyone for patiently listening. If you guys have any questions or queries, we can discuss.
Participants, do you have any questions? Please type your question in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask the questions. Since don't have any questions, I would like to ask Miss Anjali to propose vote of thanks. Anjali, over to you.
Yes. I would like to express my gratitude to all the viewers for their presence in this webinar. On behalf of CSMB, I thank Darshan Sancheti sir for providing such insights on how to file ITR. It was such an informative session. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you, participants. Thank you for joining in today. Stay tuned for more webinars. Thank you.